The other day I saw a frozen wave, and it reminded me that for some of you in the Northern Hemisphere, this has been a pretty epic winter. So the other day when I saw a message from one of our Facebook friends, Rosanne, saying that she needed some support for kind of getting through these last times of winter and just wanting to get her body back and just coming out of hibernation, I thought that was such an awesome topic for today's podcast, because it not only applies to seasons, we can take any difficult situation we're in, and I'm going to give you tips that are going to help you consider this actually a time of great growth, and it's going to help you get to the end of the tunnel, see the light in a really positive way. I hope you enjoy the podcast. The Change Guru podcast is brought to you by my books, Be Your Own Change Guru and How to Find Your Purpose After 40. They're available on Amazon, and if you like the show, buying a book is an awesome way to show your support for what I'm doing. And now, here's the podcast.
The Change Guru. Listen up. You are the guru of your own midlife change. Gotta take it and own it. Don't be restricted by age. What's the number anyway? Live your dreams, don't hesitate. You're the change guru. You're the change guru. This is the time to step up, make your dreams come true. Whatever the change, it all starts with you. Whether it's life's purpose, relationships or career. Whatever the change, it's time to get what you want, what you want, what you really, really want. Make a change in midlife and still look really hot. Listen here, don't have fear. You're the master of your fate. You're the woman of the year. I mean it. Change your life forever. I mean it. It's not too late, no never. I said I mean it. Change your life forever. I mean it. It's not too late, no never, ever, ever, ever. Yeah. The Change Guru. All starts with you.
Hello, welcome to TCG episode number 29. It's Sue Padgett here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you just sitting down or moving around through your life with me in your ears. And the way I look at it, it's like you and me being able to sit and have having a cup of tea together. And we're just having a really awesome conversation that is going to make you, when you walk out the door, you're just going to feel so good. You're going to feel charged up and ready to go. So that's my intention. And one thing that I've been doing with my clients is, before we start our session, is I have my clients set an intention for what they want to get out of the session too. So I thought that might be fun for us to try right now. So I'm going to tell you my intention, and while I'm talking, I want you to think about what you're going to bring to the table today, because it's just kind of like an intention means you're going to take some responsibility for the time that you're committing. So during this, however long we talk together today, you can decide what you want to get out of it. What do you want your outcome to be? Are you good? Do you intend to be present and really pay attention? Do you intend to find a solution to something that's on your mind? Do you intend to learn something new? Something like that. So my intention, I'll show you mine, and then you can show me yours. My intention is to inspire you and give you some clarity on anything that you're going through, to point you in some new directions, to just make you see things in a whole different way. That's what I intend to do with my podcast, and I hope I can achieve the mission for you today. So what's your intention? What will you be bringing to the table during this little amount of time that we're going to be talking with each other? I'm sure it's something super cool. So that's a really good thing. Setting an intention is really good to do daily before you get out of bed. Today I'm going to have a great day. I mean, that's been my intention pretty much every day lately. Even if I'm not sure what the day has ahead for me, or even if there's something on there that doesn't seem that great, I just say, I'm going to have a great day today. I'm going to have fun. You never know really what is around the corner, and it means that I have to walk around with kind of a smile on my face. I have to walk around with a sense of humor, and I have to bring something to that that intention to make it happen. And it seems like, wow, every time that that I set an intention, it really does happen by magic. It's a windy day here in Sydney, Australia. So if you hear like blowing things or trees knocking or whatever, that's what's going on. Winds really come up. Wind is very disturbing to me. In Ayurveda philosophy, it really activates my vata, my air qualities. So it makes me feel ungrounded, just kind of flighty and flaky. And it's just very disturbing feeling. I don't like being outside when it's windy. I don't like the sound of wind. It's really weird. And I've kind of have always had that feeling, but then when I found out that it's actually a type of dosha, I think that's how you pronounce it, dosha in Ayurveda. It's a type of body or type of constitution, body makeup. It made me feel so much better because it was like, oh, cool. There's a reason for it. So, and I like knowing that there's that kind of quality in what you do. And I'm going to talk about it more in today's podcast. But there are ways to also deal with these kind of disturbing winds. Ooh, it's almost like what we're talking about totally, isn't it? We're talking about Zen and the art of coping with a difficult situation. So even though you have this feeling, so you can hear it now, even though the wind is strong, and it really, it's not my favorite thing in the world, there are counter things that I can do to just ease its effect on me. And that's one of the things actually I'm going to talk about in the podcast today. But I can hear it. It's going off, man. It wasn't always like that today. Today I had it's disturbing my chain of thought. It's focus season. I had an amazing morning this morning. I'm recording this on the full moon. It's my daughter Presley's birthday. Presley lives in Chicago. She's an artist in Chicago. So if you Google Presley Joy Paget, you'll see her work. She is just loving life in Chicago. I'll tell you more about Presley in a bit, but it's her birthday there today. So that's the first thing I did when we woke up this morning is we Skyped with Press. And because it was late afternoon for her in Chicago, early morning here in Australia. And then I put on my bikini and I went to the beach. It was before the wind came up, and it was a really beautiful day, a little bit crispy in the air, like the seasons are kind of changing. And I put on my bikini, and I've got this cool new towel I really like. It's like this big, long, Turkish-y kind of towel that you can use in so many ways. And I can't exactly remember what they call it, but it's the new kind of trendy towel. It's very thin, but it looks really hip, and you can use it as a wrap or a rug or a tablecloth or whatever, or a towel. So I took my new little towel down to Manly Beach, and I sat in the sun and did my meditation, my 15-minute silent sitting practice at the beach. And if you have trouble focusing, like often I just practice at home, I just roll out of bed and sit down, or I'll do it after my yoga practice. And a lot of times my mind is like all over the place. It's very challenging kind of to rein these thoughts in, even though that's impossible, but just kind of get a handle on all this massive monkey mind of mine. I find that when you're in nature, it's a little bit easier to be present. And I actually was able to, I was just listening to the waves. I mean, I was right there, and I was listening to the waves and this, just the sound of this water, this energy coming in, flowing out. The waves were big because it's full moon. And I was playing this little game. And I think you can play games with yourself. No, I wasn't shot down by any meditation gods, but I was playing this game of past and future. And every time I noticed a thought, I'd ask myself, is that a thought from the past or is that a thought from the future? And then you realize, okay, I'm thinking a future thought, and it's like, okay, go back to thinking about the waves, go back to listening to the waves. So it's cool because you kind of notice a thought, and then you bring it back to to the present, which is what you're kind of, trying to do in a meditation practice. You're trying to bring your brain to just stay still and enjoy the presence for a little bit. But why I wanted to tell you about that, because if you're doing a sitting practice, you're experimenting with meditation, even if it's for a couple minutes, just observe the thoughts that come into your head and see which ones are past and which ones are future. And what I found for me is I had a lot more thoughts in going into future mode. Not much past stuff at all. It was mostly future. And I don't know if that changes day to day, because today was the first day that I tried it. But I encourage you to try it. And because to me, that was really, I am thinking a lot about the future, and my mind is always kind of a little bit forward. So it's important for me to also practice, staying very present, which is why I kind of do all these practices. But it was also like a subliminal revealing of how my mind goes. And so when you can get a little bit of that knowledge of where your mind naturally goes when it's left to its own devices, if it's going past or if it's present, you can go, oh, okay, that's cool. How much am I thinking about the past when I'm conscious, or when am I thinking about the future when I'm moving around through my day? And is this something that I can kind of work with so I can, force my mind to be a little bit more present in my non-meditating hours than always leaning towards the future? And same thing, so if you're thinking, if you're a person that finds through sitting that you're thinking a lot about in the past, they can be quite revealing too. So I like the idea of that. I thought it was a fun game to play. And the interesting thing too is that, boy, that 15 minutes passed so quick. Sometimes it really drags a long time, but this was so quick. And also, I mentioned that a couple weeks ago that I went to a really good yoga retreat with Richard Freeman and Mary Taylor, this yoga couple from Boulder, Colorado, who are really super awesome. They were incredible. But at the workshop, I was talking to a friend, and she mentioned, and we're talking about vitamin D. And in Australia, most of us anyways, are very, very sun conscious. I mean, I have been wearing massive amounts of sunblock and covering my whole body since I moved here when I was about 22 years old. Mind you, before that, I baked and put Vaseline all over my body and totally fried myself. But when I moved to Australia, I really got a handle on all that because such a high rate of skin cancer here, and really covered myself up. But of course, now we know we really need vitamin D3. It's really important for us. So I've been taking that as a supplement, but this friend at the workshop said, what's really cool to do is to not wear any sunblock and take a sun bath and let that sun go right into your stomach. Just lay there and just luxuriate letting the sun into your tummy. And this morning I said, okay, I couldn't imagine not wearing a sunblock on my face. I put a little bit of sunblock on my face. It's baby steps. But I left the rest of my body without any sunblock on. And she also said, just do it for 5 or 10 minutes in the early morning. Just take a little sun bath, in the early morning. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to put sunblock on my face. I'm going to sit there on the beach and do my meditation and just let that sun go right into my stomach. And about 5 minutes through, I could feel, my face felt a bit warm, felt delicious, and, warm on my neck. And I could feel kind of thoughts of going, oh, I hope I'm not going to get sunburn. And, obviously, and then I'd go, oh, that's a future thought. That's a future thought. Come back to the present. Just enjoy the sun in your skin. And now, and it felt really good. And then I jumped in the ocean, which was awesome after my meditation. And then I came back and I laid on my stomach and took off my top, because you can do that in Australia. And I just laid there for about 5 more minutes and dried off with the sun on my back. And it was awesome. I mean, I really have not laid out for 1,000 years, and it felt so good. And I also felt like I'm kind of banking up a bit of vitamin D. As we come into winter, we're in autumn now. See, those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, believe it or not, are coming into spring. It's kind of what this podcast was inspired by in the first place. But I have in my head that I want to bank up some vitamin D, some really natural vitamin D for the winter, because I really feel winter, even though it's a pretty mild climate here. I just am a person that feels winter. So I'm just doing some little preventative stuff. So that was a beautiful morning. But of course, now about 4 or 5 hours later, I can feel my neck is a little bit sunburnt, you know. It's like, who cares? I'll survive. What else? Tomorrow night, I'm taking Dale to Sandra Bernhardt. She's performing here in Australia. I've seen her before. I adore her. She is not everybody's cup of tea, but I think she is fantastic. She's a total badass. She's one of those people that I really kind of admire, who I think gets better and better with age. There's something very, very cool about her. So that's going to be our fun weekend. And then my other daughter, Matilda Paget, she's known as Matilda Stephanie. She's doing her first tour. She's a musician, and she's doing her first tour up the east coast of Australia, finishing in Byron Bay on Saturday night. So all the Paget kids are doing good. My son Henry's doing really awesome. Dale's doing good. Everybody is happy and doing their thing. And speaking of doing their things, let's get to today's topic. I'm just going to have a little sip of my hot water really quick. Just a moment. This podcast is inspired by Rosanne Gervais. Hi, Rosanne. You posted a comment on my Facebook page the other day, and I was like, I got to get to this one ASAP, and it relates to winter. And Rosanne, I asked Rosanne if there was a topic that she wanted to talk about. She was saying that she was catching up on all my videos and things, which I really appreciate. And she mentioned she really wanted to talk about, post-hibernation. She's dealing with seasonal affective disorder, S.A.D, and just post-hibernation body recovery. How do you kind of make the transition from, early spring? How do you come out of that cave? So I wanted to do this podcast on this subject as soon as possible, because I know it's been a tough winter for a lot of you. And speaking of Presley, my baby who lives in Chicago, I've been trying not to worry, because I think worry is sometimes such a wasted emotion. You either take action on something that's bugging you, or you trust everything's going to be fine. So this has been a really good experiment for me to just try not to worry about her, because she, as a surfer girl who's never lived in snow, who's never lived in cold temperatures, I was pretty nervous about her living in Chicago because she didn't have the clothes for it. And I read all these horror stories about how cold it can get and everything. And the funniest thing is that she's had the best time. I think this has been one of the best years of her cool life, really. She's loved it, and it's funny, the winter hasn't even really bothered her at all. And it kind of got me thinking, because as I mentioned, I'm not the biggest fan of winter. It's a spiritual practice for me to wrap my head around it. That's how I'm approaching it. And but it made me think, when you have a lot of great things going on in your life, and there's a lot of energy in other areas of your life, I wonder if you notice the challenges of a season less. Challenges of season aren't only the domain of winter. Family members that live in really crazy hot climates, and in the desert, and it's like living on Mars there in the summer. You can't go out. You can barely drive your car because the steering wheel will just fry your hands. It is Mars conditions. And so it's really all relative, and a lot, I'm sure people that aren't crazy about summer that actually love winter. So how we deal with seasons is very fascinating. And the more I get into it, the more I just fall down this rabbit hole. A while back, I posted a video about how to cope. It was before winter happened. It was about how to cope if you're going into winter, and it was kind of about mindset. And what I thought I'd do, Rosanne, if you don't mind, is I thought I would take your question and kind of spread it out to make it so to answer the question of how do we cope in any kind of difficult situation. So I'm going to use the season of winter and, getting our bodies back and everything post-hibernation as kind of a metaphor for a lot of situations that we seem to be in, and they're uncomfortable, and we just, want to know how to cope. We know there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel, but for the meantime, we're kind of stuck in them. So that could be, coping with a difficult person. It could be living in a town you don't like. It could be working in an organization that you don't like, or feeling like you're surrounded by a lot of friends that aren't gelling with you. It can be, having health stuff that doesn't feel good. Hey, sometimes that happens, especially with perimenopause and menopause. It's a time where we're going through something and we're just trying to find our way out of it. So, Rosanne, we're going to talk your cool challenge, and we're going to spread it out so we can all get something of value. I love a metaphor. Love a metaphor. So these are going to be a combination. I'm going to warn you in advance. These are a combination of really practical things and a little bit woo-woo. I think you got to have some fairy dust, some little magical sparkles into things to make them a little bit fun, because I like the idea of there's a spiritual solution to every problem. I have no religion. I got me no religion. I really don't. And but I feel like I do have a strong spiritual base, and I like borrowing philosophies and ideas from more established religions, and I like exploring my own thoughts and getting the spiritual information from everywhere I can turn. And I think one of my biggest spiritual teachers is challenge. How we deal with it, does it make it or break us? Do we grow from it? How do we cope? How do we go completely Zen commando when we're in the middle of a situation and all we have is our mindset? So for me, challenge is the most awesome spiritual teacher. So for you, Rosanne, and all of you that are just kind of want out of a situation, I want you to first off start out by looking at this challenge is actually you're in the trenches of a really interesting spiritual experience, that when you come out of it, you are going to be more elevated in your presence, in your mindset, in your actions, in your words. You're going to grow from it. So it's kind of choosing freedom of the mind. So rather than, and we always have the choice of how we want to think. So it's choosing to turn this lemon into some lemonade, or to just sit there and suck on lemons. Hey, I love lemons. The lemons are delicious, but I think you know what I mean. It's about let's look at this challenge, this difficult situation, as actually a gift to dive deep into our spirituality. So let's talk about the beautiful description of that post-hibernation body recovery. You know that feeling when it's wintertime. First of all, when it's winter for me, I walk around in puffy jackets, beanies, fingerless gloves, sometimes thermal underwear. I mean, I'm so layered up. I'm like the Pillsbury Doughboy. It is just, it keeps me warm, but I feel so out of touch with my body. And the times when I can just strip down and just be in my own skin seem so rare, because I just want to get out of my clothes and, put stuff on really quick. And so I think one of the cool ways to look at this time of when you are stuck in a difficult situation is just kind of, or you're in post-hibernation, is to really go back to the body and think of yourself in kind of like a cocoon. It's the chrysalis time, so you're in the cocoon, and now it's time to start just slowly peeling off some of the layers. And One of the things that I really enjoyed doing this winter to kind of counter the whole Michelin Man, Pillsbury Doughboy situation I had going on with all these clothes was to go to my local sauna. And I know I mentioned this in a podcast before, but there's a beauty salon just around the corner from me, and they have a sauna that's like $12 for 30 minutes. And then you can still use the showers and stuff. So what I would do is I'd put a big conditioner on my head, and then I would go sit in the sauna, and I'd be able to be naked. So you have the whole sauna to yourself. It's a wood sauna. And I'd be able to be naked, and the warmth would start thawing my bones, and I'd start sweating. And then, it was just amazing. And what was cool about, and then I'd, take a shower, wash my treatment out, and then I'd throw on my sweats and stuff. And what was amazing was that you kind of really keep the heat. So Rosanne, if you have a sauna nearby you, that could be really, really comforting for you to just start being able to get back in touch with your body in a nice, warm way. But there is something about a sauna, and it's cool because you're not working at your body out. You're just kind of gently relaxing the body and letting the temperature raise up. On the flip side, there are those, I'm just going to look it up right now. I want to say that the cryotherapy in Los Angeles, there's a thing that's just the opposite. Yeah, cryotherapy. It's just the opposite, where you where it was originated in Japan, and it's almost kind of like going into a sauna, but it uses super, super low temperatures, like 110 below or 140 below, something like that. I'm not sure if that's Celsius or Fahrenheit. But let's put it this way: it's cold, and you go there in your undies, and you just kind of cover up your ears or your eyes, and you just do a cold temperature blast for 2 minutes, and that's said to be really stimulating for the body and very healing and stuff. So I think there's something to be said for all for treatments that involve temperature change. But if you happen to be in the situation where it's winter time, sauna is a really good one to do. But this is a time, I think, just to get back in touch with your body, and other things to do to emerge from that cocoon, and they do have to do with beauty. But I find this is when the TLC is so good, especially when you're going through anything challenging, is to go and get an awesome facial. I love facials so much. I love facials more than massages, because it's like you have something to really show for it after, but your face always looks amazing after, and it just feels so good to have someone just rub oils into your skin. And I often fall asleep. It's so awesome. But you might like massages better, but this is the time to just get someone to pamper you. And if facials are out of your financial realm right now, and the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm getting a lot of emails lately, a lot of messages to do content on transitional career times, and people are feeling like they have no income, and it's time to, they feel like they have to tighten their belts. But you can go to beauty schools. There's a huge one in Sydney where you can get facials for, like, instead of the $100 or so, you can get it for $15. Or if you wanted to just do it completely yourself. And there's so many amazing, natural, super, super inexpensive, luxurious things that you can do. But I think this is the time to really go back to, on a cellular level, to your skin, just seeing yourself naked and just making friends with your body again after a long time of, maybe whether it's in a difficult situation of just disregarding and feeling disconnected from it, or if you're in a beautiful winter situation of just being total hibernation mode. Here's another one, and maybe it's more related to seasonal affective disorder, but it's really with any difficult situation, and it's that there's a real link between S.A.D and craving for carbs. And this is also something that really happens for women who are perimenopausal, menopausal. And I think there's a lot of reasons. For one thing, I think embedded in our head is the concept that carbs, eating carbohydrates, gives us energy. And when you are working really, really hard, you're thinking, I need energy. So those kind of theories are being a bit challenged, and I'm not a dietitian. And Jane Toddy, if you're listening from Supernourished, one of these days I'd love to have you on the podcast to talk about, just all the different foods that are really supportive for us, and some of the things that, we grew up thinking that are supportive that are not. I'd love to talk with you about that one day. So much to go through with food. But there is a link with craving for carbs in both perimenopause and S.A.D. And, here's the thing with carbs. Carbohydrates, they break down into sugar, and then you have the possibility of, I think it's being insulin resistance, so that makes you gain weight. And when you are going through a massive winter time, your body kind of naturally gets this desire to want to eat heavy foods, which is actually a good thing. And in Ayurveda, again, Indian medicinal philosophy, it is good to put on a little weight in the wintertime and to eat heavier kind of foods that are kind of more supportive of the season. But it's the type of foods and the combination of being perimenopausal or menopausal, and then plus living in a cold climate, and could do a number on the types of food choices that you're making. So let's just put it this way. This is a great time, no matter what situation you're going through, whether it is freezing cold temperatures and you're kind of over it, or whatever difficult situation, is to look at your diet. Is there room for improvement? I've spoken before about how Dale and I have switched to eating primarily paleo, with sprinklings of vegan in there, because I say vegan because vegan is like no dairy, no eggs, no whatever. But I feel like there's one thing that vegan does do. Can't think of it now. But anyway, that paleo doesn't. Oh, yeah, vegans can eat corn. Vegans can eat peas and legumes, and so you can have dals and lentils and stuff. But we've been kind of leaning about 80% that. So what we've done is we've cut out refined sugar. And by refined sugar, I have not had a cookie, or I had like a crumb of a muffin the other day just because someone gave it to me and I was just trying to be polite, but I didn't even want it. We haven't had any no cookies, no candy bars, no dairy. I have had... Yeah, it's primarily no dairy because I have had a little bit of cheese. I was just busting for it. And, but yeah, no dairy. We've just completely substituted almond milk, homemade almond milk for our dairy. And I've made cheese out of almond pulp and stuff. It's weird. And a little bit of protein, meat, chicken, fish, all really healthy qualities. And no pasta. Like I posted on my Facebook page, we made zucchini noodles to substitute as pasta, and the thing is, Dale's really liking it. So that change has been very massive, and we're constantly trying to do new things. And there's pretty much nothing that you're eating right now that can't be substituted in a healthy way. That's the fascinating thing. I'll put a couple links down to some sites that I seem to keep on going to for recipe ideas, but never before has there been a better time. And really what it is just eating cleaner. It's like not having packaged stuff. So we used to have piles of pasta and piles of noodles in our cupboard. And the other day, our cupboard is looking so empty. It's really, really weird. And I said, check out our cupboard, because, we just don't have any pasta in there. There's no flour in there. There's none of the processed, packagey kind of things that we used to have. None of that's in there. It's really bizarre. So here's my thing, is that maybe this is a good time to look at your diet and look at how you're eating and just see if you can make a change with one thing. I did one change that kind of changed a lot of stuff. I swapped my morning breakfast. I used to always have a bowl of oatmeal, bowl of porridge, they call it in Australia. I always had a bowl of porridge, and that worked out really, really well for me. But since we've changed, I just have a nice smoothie. I have some healthy protein powder. It's some really good shit that I got at the health food store. It has like, I don't know, I want to say protein isolate, or I don't know. It's all healthy, weird stuff. And then I put a little avocado, a banana, either some almond milk or some coconut water and some purified water, and then a couple dates, and I think that's it. And that just fills me up. I haven't had any it's 2:00 and I haven't had any breakfast or had any food yet. I'm just still kind of not hungry. So that's one thing I changed. Or I just have some eggs and greens for breakfast. And so we, don't have toast with our breakfasts anymore. It's really weird. It's made a big difference. For Dale, he's lost like 25 pounds at least. He's getting down to like a weight that he hasn't been in years. For me, it hasn't affected me weight-wise, but I feel like my mood is a bit stable, and I feel like I have a little bit of clarity. I'm really not food sensitive at all, so it's hard for me really to connect with where the benefits are. But I know that I feel good. So I'm not asking, and I mentally feel good eating stuff that I'm creating. I'm mentally feeling good knowing where my food comes from. So that's been a big change. So look at your diet, and we'll talk more about diet, I hope, with some people that know a lot more than I do about it all. The third thing I want to say is, going back to the body again, body recovery. I mentioned in my my vlog this week about the question of whether it's too late to make change at a certain age. And I was like, you have to get to your body. You have to move your body. If you're not going to move your body, you're going to be screwed. Because here's the bottom line with not moving our bodies. If we want to take it a step further, doctors, when they deal with old people, do not tell them to get out and move their body. When they come in feeling depressed or they're feeling bad, they will put them right away on an antidepressant. And then when the antidepressant isn't working, or it's, they have side effects or whatever, they'll change it to another antidepressant or a stronger antidepressant. And what they do is they just want to push old people down a slippery slope down until, I don't know. I sometimes get very cynical about the whole thing and think they really just want to push them, right over the edge of a proverbial cliff. So keeping in touch with your body, especially during challenging times right now, and really getting into the habit of body movement is a lifesaver. It's a lifesaver. So if you're not used to that, Rosanne, or any of you going through a difficult situation, you're probably rolling my eyes because I talk about this all the time, the importance of moving our bodies and stuff. Well, I was trying to think, okay, how can we do that in a way that is going to you'll be able to relate to it and be able to embrace the idea of it. And I was thinking that what if you put a challenge to yourself to spend the next 30 days learning something new? And learning that something new while you walk on a treadmill or while you take a walk out your house. And how can you learn something new? By listening to podcasts. There's podcasts on every single subject in the world, or by listening to an audiobook. So what I wanted to put out an offer to any of you, if you want to learn something new for the next 30 days, I want you to post on my Facebook, the Facebook post for this podcast, post on my Facebook page, and tell me what subject you want to learn, and I will find you a podcast that will be a good match for you to learn from. And what you can do is just spend 30 days learning from that, but moving while you learn. Okay, deal. Now, why should you learn something for 30 days? How the hell is that going to help you with post-hibernation body recovery and seasonal affective disorder and coping with a difficult situation? It's the old chestnut of moving some neurons in your head, making your brain, completely confusing your brain, making it think, oh, I'm not doing this, I'm bummed out and I'm hating my life thing right now. I'm actually having to learn something. Ooh, I think I'm going to sweat. That's your brain talking. So this is a way to really get some new neurons firing, to change your brain chemistry. And what's going to happen, this happens to me all the time, when I learn something different or I focus on something that's completely different, it inspires me in other areas of my life. I get answers. I come up with ideas. It's fascinating. So that's my third tip of, coming through this time where you feel like you've been in a cocoon is learn something new. And again, post what you want to learn on my Facebook page, and I will be happy to direct you to a podcast that is going to be a really good match for the area that you're interested in. And this is a major offer for me to do this, because this is the thing. If you want to learn something in any area, it could set you off on a new career path, could send you off on a new adventure path. This could be a life-changing moment. So please take advantage of it, okay? And post what you want to learn for 30 days. You got to commit 30 days, moving the body, and listening to something cool. Post on my Facebook post for this show. The fourth thing that I really am so intrigued by, and I've spoken about this with Marlene from Brussels and maybe Elizabeth from Denmark. Maybe we also spoke about it too. But it is the idea of getting acupuncture to deal with seasons. I mentioned a while back that I went and had some acupuncture done when I was feeling a lot of perimenopausal stuff. It was of August of last year, which is when in Australia we're coming to the end of winter. And at that time I really didn't even connect the idea that acupuncture could be really cool for seasonal coping and for seasonal change. And I think it was Marlene, it's either Marlene or Elizabeth, one of you beautiful women, who said that they get kind of tune-ups every season. And it's not something that you can really kind of feel automatically. But the weird thing is, when I got my acupuncture treatments to kind of help me through perimenopause, these bad symptoms that I was having, they did go away, and I kind of felt a better sense of well-being. So something was going on. And I think that now, at the change of seasons for all of us in the Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere, is a really awesome time to experiment with that. And it's just, if you look at it like, taking your car to get a tune-up and expecting, or let's go the opposite way, having a car and never getting it tuned up and expecting it to be able to keep on trucking at optimal performance, even though you're not really changing the oil. So this is kind of, an ancient art way that is just part of everyday life for people, or seasonal life for people that are really into Chinese medicine, to get a bit of a tweak. If you haven't had acupuncture before, it doesn't hurt. It's really super gentle. It's almost relaxing. I've fallen asleep during it. Sometimes it feels a little bit funky, like they might hit a little kind of weird nerve that does a little twinge. And that to me means it's like so powerful, because you can feel this little twingy thing going all the way up your leg or up your arm. That's the only time I feel it, but I've had needles in my head, I've had needles in my ear, needles all the time in my stomach and my legs, my toes. So it's something that I'm going to experiment with. I should book in soon. I was also going to say, other nourishing therapies, definitely in Ayurvedic treatment. I feel like it's called Shodhana. Let me have a look. That's not very good for me to. It's the oil treatment that the therapist goes and they pour hot sesame oil, warm sesame oil, over your head as you. This is like patting my head and rubbing my tummy, Googling, and Oil therapy in Kerala. That'll get me what I need to do. Shirodara. Yeah, Shirodara. It's where they take a medicated oil. I'll post a link to it on my website. And they just pour the steady stream of oil right into your third eye. And it's crazy relaxing, but there are philosophies behind that of probably balancing the body, balancing what I was saying, those doshas, those body constitutions. So there's all these really ancient therapies that are really that have always followed, seasonal living, and we've gotten so far away from it because really if you work in an office, seasons, except getting back and forth to work or going outside, seasons are the same. However, 5 days a week at the office, it's kind of same. But back in the day, when you really had to live with the seasons, people had to find ways of coping with the different changes and were really attuned to the different things that happen to us. So I think alternative therapies are so beautiful and awesome to start playing around with. One thing that I've done before, I did this when I was really, I probably told you already, I did this when I got out of my career, and I did a series of colonics. This is going back, it would be, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, when I was 47, I did a series of colonics, and that was pretty powerful too in more ways than one, but it was almost like a symbolic cleaning out of the old energy and starting off fresh and new. Some people are really into colonics, some people are completely against them. I had a really good experience with them. There's something I definitely would like to do again. If you're curious, I highly recommend them. They don't hurt. It's just really, they don't hurt. They're actually quite comfortable, and they're weird because it's like you got this person. I'll back up. A colonic or hydrocolonic therapy is where, I'm just going to be blunt about it, a hose gets stuck up your bum and warm water is put into, I think it's the small colon. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. I haven't researched this part for the podcast, so I'm just talking out of my butt right now, literally. So they put the warm water in, and then your bowels fill up, and the therapist who's helping you out will go, okay, I'm going to release now, and then all of a sudden all this poop comes down out of a tube, and then it goes through this machine where you can really examine this dragon that's coming out of your body. And it's so crazy because the therapists would get really excited when you pass a really big poop. I mean, that's the craziest job ever. If you are a colonic therapist, I'd love to interview you. Please make contact with me, especially if you have any success with helping women over 40, or I don't know. I just think it'd be the craziest job. Not for me, but it's so fun. So those are some weird therapies to try to just bring your body back to kind of a neutral position where it's not so laden with whatever challenging thing that you've got going on your life. Whether it is, I know when it's wintertime and I'm so cold and I can just feel cold in my bones and I just feel so brittle, and that's all I can feel. These are just ways to start peeling that layer of you off and get back to you. The fifth thing I want to say that's so important to do when we are trying to cope in a difficult situation, we're trying to break on through to the other side, whether it's winter or stuck in a place we don't love living, or we're with people who we know we're going to be away from them soon, but they're driving us insane, is to find a way to channel your voice, to find your voice. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in our own heads, and especially things with seasonal affective disorder, is that one of the symptoms there's a lot of different symptoms like weight gain. That's why I mentioned the tendency to eat too many carbs, and depression is is another one of those things. And I think that being able to talk and get a lot of those feelings out is really, really important. When we're going through a difficult situation, we can tend to, and if we have to grin and bear it, really suck it up, it's easy to just be, we say it all the time, I'm biting my tongue. I'm just sucking it up until I can get out of here. I'm not saying a word. And I think what happens is while those are sometimes strategies that we have to use, they can also have residual effects of stressing us out. And stress raises your cortisol level, and then cortisol messes around with your insulin, and boom, you've gained weight. It's just, or you're not, it keeps you from sleeping. There's just a lot of manifestations of holding stuff in. So this is a time to kind of start finding your voice again and finding people. And one thing I'd like to recommend to all of you is to maybe look into the idea of Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a free group around the world. They're in almost every single community. They're almost like Alcoholics Anonymous. They're all over the place. And it's where you can kind of work on public speaking in a really safe place. Don't let the idea of public speaking scare you. I know that they say, public speaking is, second number fear right after death or something. But it's usually, there's probably like 10 people in the room. Everyone is scared and stretched by the idea of public speaking. It's a really safe place. And you just learn to talk to people. I used Toastmasters when I was making my career transition from my old job to my job now, because I never did podcasts before. I never did vlogs. I was always a very behind-the-scenes person. To say anything in this kind of way was never imaginable for me, but I started to find my feet a little bit through Toastmasters, and I really recommend. And they're a safe group, they're a supportive group, they're different people, so they may be people that you don't even really hang out with, which is kind of helpful to just meet new people and get new energy. And they're also really cool in that they don't push you to join right away. They actually say, come to as many meetings as you want to come to make sure that you want to stick around with us. So they're really awesome in that way. I remember when I first did mine, there were so many different kinds of people in there. There was a Qantas pilot in there. There was a woman who's really into her community. There was a mom who had a kid who had who was on the Asperger's spectrum, and she just wanted to be able to communicate better with the people that were helping him. So there were so many different kind of people and so many different kind of reasons. And my whole reason was I just wanted to get out of my head. I just wanted to be able to talk about the things that were going on with me. So I think that Toastmasters can be really cool, and I'll put a link to Toastmasters International on my site. So it's a matter of starting to, I guess, to sum up, these 5 things for coping with a difficult situation, whether it is hibernation from the long, cold winter and starting to wanting to put your toe out the door, or whether it's how to cope, in a job that is just, you're hitting your boiling point with, is to look at the different body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, the physical body, the mental body. So in the mental body, you're going to challenge your mind by learning something new for 30 days, or you're going to move the body, or you're going to think about what you're eating, and you're going to think about how you're treating it. All these different things. And I think what those do is they treat your body like a bit of a house, like it gives you a foundation. So for when you finally get to the end of that tunnel, spring comes, you finally can walk out the door of something, you're not all over the shop. You've got some type of foundation, some type of stability. So this is a way of using these times of when you can't kind of make a move, you're still in one place. It's a way of making this time really, really work for you. So what I hope, Rosanne, and everyone listening, is that this has made you think a lot differently about the challenge that you're in. And what I'd like to say to people that when they're in challenge and in difficult situations is, babe, you are in the trenches right now. You're in it. And imagine yourself as you're the hero of your own movie. I love that metaphor. You're the hero of your own movie. And how would the hero do in this moment? And then speaking of winter, I think of Rocky Balboa training in some Siberian cabin for the big fight that he has to do, and he's carting around logs, and he's chopping wood, and he's fetching water, and he's freezing cold, and he's just doing all these things, and then he goes out and knocks Drago's block off when he's ready. So it's that. It's using this time of having to kind of feeling like you can't make a move, but you're ready to start coming out of your shell. It's using this time in a really, really solid way. That is going to make a huge difference when you come out of the tunnel. Okay. That's that. Come over to my Facebook page at thechangeguru.net. Come say hi. That's an awesome way you can support the show by being a part of my Facebook community. Also, come over to thechangeguru.net and get on my email. Every 7 to 10 days, I post little stories, ideas. It's just like having a little zap of inspiration coming into your inbox. And it's an awesome way to connect. I get so many great story ideas, topic ideas from all of you. It's just kind of next level connection with followers. Come over to my YouTube channel, Susan Paget TV, and subscribe. And of course, buy my books, Be Your Own Change Guru and How to Find Your Purpose. And another way that you can help me is rate me on iTunes. Review and rate me on iTunes. I'm not even going to look right now at iTunes. I'm not even going to look for ratings, but please, can you just spend 2 seconds and give me an honest review? Honest review, because I just need honesty. I love honesty. So if you like what I'm doing, that's a super way to support the show. That helps me move up into the rankings so people can actually find me. And also, if you've read my books and you like them, leaving a review on Amazon will really, really help me. So fun to market myself. Right? Okay, listen, I love you. Big, big kiss from me. Thank you so much for taking the time to work on yourself. I want to really acknowledge that by spending this time with me, you're making a commitment to change. And I reckon by doing even one thing on that list, you're going to feel a hell of a lot better. And my hope is that your intention has been met. All right, thank you so much for listening. I look forward to talking with you next time. And until then, take care.
I